Talking about the importer of record, is it right that they're the one who's supposed to pick the tariff code, the HTS code?
Correct. Brokers take different approaches to this. So when I worked at DHL Global Forwarding, they would never pick an HTS code for an importer. They would actually require a piece of paper from the importer that stated what the code was and signed off. Because ultimately, in the 90s, what changed is the shift of liability from brokers to importers. So the importer is responsible, the importer of record is responsible for the accuracy of what's being filed, the accuracy of what's on the documentation, and so they are ultimately responsible for the HTS code. Now, I have also been with brokers who, if they see an HTS code listed on an invoice, it's maybe not complete for U.S. Customs. They go with whatever's closest, and they don't have a conversation about it. Maybe it's not accurate because different countries use different terminology. We take the approach, we like to talk to people about it, so we ask, hey, you know, this is the HTS code that's listed. Does that sound accurate? Does it sound anywhere relatively close? The last thing you want to do, let's say you import a medical device and somebody's filing it as plastic parts. You're putting yourself in this huge compliance hole, essentially. Will you be caught? I don't know, but do you want to take that risk, right? You're liable for that, and doing something like that can be considered totally negligent to the U.S. government.
So just to be clear, so a tariff code triggers obviously the tax and duty, right?
Correct.
So the situation that we see a lot, most of the time, is that the tariff code has been chosen by the shipper in China, Germany, whatever.
Okay.
Does those tariff code equal exactly the U.S. tariff code? Are they not international?
So a portion of it is universal. So years ago, decades ago, they made it the tariff universal. So typically, the first 4 to 6 digits of a code listed from an exporter is pretty accurate. The U.S. is the only country in the world to use a 10-digit system. So many times that confuses people too. Well, why are you asking for this code? It's listed. Well, it's partial, but also, are they listing a code, A, that is meant to try to evade a certain duty in the U.S. or a certain regulation, or B, maybe it's accurate for Germany based on their nomenclature and their laws and regulations. But in the U.S., we have different laws, so something is possibly called something else in a different country, and it would be different here. So we always try to have that conversation because, again, we get that mistake from importers a lot too. Well, the shipper said it's this. Okay, well, do you feel that's accurate for your product? Because they're not, Customs is not going to ask the shipper. They're going to ask you.
Yeah. So I guess you can modify that on the spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
and we tell people, so you're supposed to have an HTS code listed on your documents. That's not always the case, but we try not to, don't push to get a new document just for that. We can change that on the spot, and we have emails that show we had a conversation with the importer showing, no, that's maybe not accurate, or yeah, that looks accurate to me. I think that that's the best for my product, and that way you have something to show your due diligence in the product.
When you look at the tariff code for the U.S., there's a different chapter, and usually like medical device will be under chapter 90, I think, something like that, or 30. Does it happen sometimes the customer will ask you, oh, can you pick the tariff code? Will you do it?
It does happen all the time. They say, I don't know anything. Well, sometimes they say, I don't know anything about this product.
Yeah.
Well, you have to. They do say, well, you tell me, do you think it's more like this? And again, I'll have that conversation, but that becomes a very legal line because we are kind of the target of everything. Oh, the broker said this, the broker said that, the broker.
Yeah.
So the HTS, it's very overwhelming, but if you kind of know how to break it out, it helps. So if you look at the HTS in a public forum, there's all these chapters. The best way to do it is go through those, don't open the chapters, just look at the titles of the chapters. If you're bringing in a medical device, you're going to look at that first chapter on live animals and go, obviously my product doesn't fit there. Don't even open it. Don't overwhelm yourself with that. Start narrowing down what chapters your product could be in. Okay, chapter 30 is for pharmaceutical, 34, chapter, maybe it's soap, maybe it's pharmaceuticals, maybe it's a medical device. Narrow down the chapters first before you dive into them.
Okay.